A small colony named Elarusavan floated on the edge of the galaxy. It was quiet, too quiet, no ships came, no messages left. For days, there was only silence. But the Galactic Council didn't care. To them, Elarusavan was just another small mining world. Nothing valuable. No danger. Probably a system failure, they said. But someone noticed an alien named Kale worked in the deep corners of the Council's sensor division. His job was boring, just monitor communication logs and space traffic. But one day, he saw something strange. Before Elarusavan went silent, there was a sudden energy spike. Unusual. Quick then. Nothing. Kale reported it. No one listened, but Earth did. Without warning, Terran ships were already moving. No orders from the Council, no official distress call. Yet a fleet of small, black ships slipped into the dark, silent, sharp, like shadows cutting through the stars. Kale was confused. Why were the humans already on their way? The Council shrugged. Humans overreact. It's just their nature. But Kale wasn't so sure. He dug deeper. There were no alerts sent from Elarusavan. No signals, no beacons, not even a ping. The system was dead. And yet somehow, Earth had moved fast. Purposeful. He checked human deep space sensors. They had picked up something no one else had, a pattern of heat, gravity, movement. Something beneath the colony's surface. Faint, but real. Terrans didn't wait to ask questions. They just moved. Something felt wrong. Not just the silence. The timing. Back on Elarusavan, everything looked normal from orbit. The colony buildings were still in place. No damage, no fire. No ships were destroyed. But when Terran ships scanned for life, they found nothing. No heat signatures. No signs. It was as if everyone had simply vanished. Aboard the lead Terran vessel, Commander Raylan stared at the screen. He didn't speak much. He just watched the data scroll by. Next to him stood a strange piece of old equipment. Humans called it an echo tap. A deep scanner made long ago, meant for tracking buried threats. It beeped slowly, then faster. Something's here, he said. His officers didn't panic. They nodded and prepared. No shouting, no rush, just calm readiness. Raylan looked at the empty world below and said one word, drop. As the Terran dropships left orbit, Kale watched in silence from his station. Why were the humans always the first to move? How did they know something was wrong before anyone else? He checked back through old Council records. Elarusavan had no history of danger, no enemy activity, no strange events. But then he found something strange. A line buried in old human exploration data, a simple note. Zone marked for observation. Unknown signals beneath crust. Recommend monitoring. It was dated 5 years ago. Earth had marked this world already. They knew something was hidden. Kale's hands shook. They had known. Now they were returning, not with scientists, not with questions, but with soldiers. On the surface of Elarusavan, the Terran soldiers moved fast. But what they found shocked them. The homes were untouched. Doors open, lights still on, meals left half-finished on tables. Children's toys scattered. No signs of struggle, no blood, no damage, just ... empty . One soldier found a tablet still recording. The last log entry read, "Something is moving underground. We hear it now. Every night." Then silence. Back in orbit. Commander Raylan ordered a scan of the subsurface tunnels. They never sent a distress call. One officer said quietly, "They didn't need to," Raylan replied. "We were already listening." Kale sat back in his chair. The Council still thought it was nothing. But he knew better. The humans weren't guessing. They had seen this before, and that meant one terrible thing. Whatever had taken Elarusavan wasn't new, and Earth was the only one ready to face it again. Asterisk. The Terran ships moved without sound, no lights, no messages, no warning. They slipped through space like dark blades, cutting toward Elarusavan. Other species might have waited for orders. Not the Terrans. They trusted their instincts more than Council votes. From his station inside the Galactic Monitoring Corps, Kale watched the human fleet glide past Council-controlled space. No request, no delay, just silent determination. But something felt off. Kale zoomed into the Terran sensor logs. Earth had long-range scanners, ancient systems upgraded with strange tech no one else used. Their systems didn't just read signals, they read patterns, tiny waves in space, gravity shifts so small, even Council tools missed them. And those scanners had triggered something. A silent alert? Something deep under Elarusavan had moved, and Earth noticed. Meanwhile, the Council still discussed if they should form a response team. Their debates were slow, filled with doubt. Some even laughed. It's probably just equipment failure. Let the humans waste fuel. But Kale couldn't look away from the data, and he noticed one more thing, something no one had reported. The Terrans had not sent just warships, they had sent archivists. Strange people with old tools. Devices Kale had never seen in any alien files. These were not soldiers. These were watchers, historians, memory keepers. Why would such people go with troops? Kale opened one of Earth's ancient military old report from a lost world called Sigma Prime. The report was almost fully blacked out, but one line stayed clear. The deeper it sleeps, the harder it is to notice until it's too late. On Ella Rusavan, the Terrans landed without noise. Their boots touched the ground like they belonged there. Not a single word was spoken. They moved through the colony in pairs, checking rooms, systems, and streets. Everything looked untouched, peaceful, but that's what made it worse. One soldier lifted a small child's blanket left on the ground. Another found a drawing on a wall, just stick figures, drawn by a kid, a family, smiling, but no people. They weren't hiding. They were simply gone. In the command center, the Terrans found power still flowing. The colony had enough energy for years. Systems were running, air was clean. Nothing had exploded. There was no attack from the sky. So what took the colonists? Commander Raylan stood in silence inside the control room. His team uploaded old voice logs. Most of them were simple. Farming reports, water levels, power, systems. Then came one final recording. The voice was soft, shaken. A man whispered, "The ground speaks at night. We don't understand it. It calls to us. We thought it was wind at first, but now we hear the rhythm." Raylan looked at his officer and nodded. "Initiate deep scan." Below their feet, far below the colony, the scanner painted a strange map, caverns, chambers, but not natural. Something had built them. Kale watched the scan in real time from his remote link. He stared at the shape of the tunnels. They spiraled in a way that made no logical sense. No species built this way. The Terrans began to mark each tunnel carefully, slowly. Then one Marine paused on the wall of a supply building. Hidden behind some crates was a carved mark. Deep, uneven, old. A single word, not human language, not any known tongue, but humans had translated it before. It was a warning. Raylan looked at the mark and spoke its meaning aloud. Buried doesn't mean gone. Kale leaned back in his chair, his heart racing. He had seen that same symbol before. In a report Earth had buried a century ago. That world was now marked uninhabitable. Back on Elarusavan, the echo tap beeped again. Louder, more often. The sound wasn't a signal. It was movement from deep below the surface. Something was shifting. Slowly, patiently. The Terrans didn't panic. They prepared. One soldier turned to Raylan. "Do we wait for the council to respond?" Raylan's voice was calm. "No. We've waited once before, and we buried a city for it." Kale's screen flashed. Terran ships in orbit began deploying. Long-range sensor buoys. A warning net. He checked the data again. The Terrans had expected this. No signal had been sent. No one had asked for help. But Earth had come anyway, because they knew something others didn't. Sometimes, silence means it's already too late. The ground was too quiet. Terran boots pressed softly into the soil of Elarusavan, but the planet offered no echo, no hum, no resistance. It was as if the world itself was holding its breath. The buildings of the colony stood untouched. Machines still blinked with light. Power flowed. Air was clean. Yet no one answered. Commander Raylan led his team through the center of the town, past silent homes and frozen gardens. It looked like everyone had simply stepped away for a moment, and never returned. Then came the first clue. One of the Terran scouts found a small door hidden behind a row of utility crates. It was sealed, tight, not by code, but by old-fashioned bolts. That was strange. Terran colonies didn't use manual locks, not without reason. Raylan gave a simple nod. The bolts came off, the door creaked open. A narrow staircase led down into darkness. They switched on their visors and moved in. Step by step, their lights cutting through the dust. The deeper they went, the older everything looked. Not older in age, but in design. The walls were rough stone, not carved by machines. The path twisted in strange, uneven angles. At the base, they reached a small storage room. Empty shelves, broken tools. But one wall had something different. Scratches, dozens of them. Like someone had tried to write a message but failed. Only one part stood out, deeply cut with shaky hands. One word, below. Raylan stared at it, silent. He tapped his communicator. "Mark this place. And begin the second sweep. Underground priority." Kale, still watching from his monitoring room far away, leaned forward. He had been following the Terran scans. Now, he requested deeper visuals. The colony had no official map of underground systems, but Terran equipment was picking up something else. Caverns, long, winding, unnatural. He ran a shape analysis. The tunnels weren't random. They followed a rhythm, like something alive had carved them. Not for travel, but for listening. Back on Elarusavan, the Terran team moved below the colony with portable scanners. Every step deeper, their equipment gave soft tones. Something was there. Not metal, not stone, something different. Suddenly their scanners detected faint heat. Not enough to be a reactor. Not enough to be people, but warm enough to be watching. The corridors turned strange. Smooth surfaces shifted to ribbed textures. Lights flickered, static buzzed softly in their ears, though nothing around them made a sound. Then they found it. A chamber. Large, circular in the center, was a small table with human tools scattered across it. Someone had been down here recently, and on the far wall a mural. It wasn't paint, it wasn't carved. It was grown. Strange black shapes formed a picture. It looked like stars. Then hands, then eyes. Hundreds of eyes. Commander Raylan looked. Around no one spoke. One of the younger Marines took a step forward, then froze. His voice trembled slightly. "I don't think this was made for us," Raylan replied quietly. It wasn't. Back on the Council's homeworld, Kale ran through ancient logs, searching for anything that matched what he was seeing. Most reports were erased or sealed, but then he found a line in a hidden Terran report from nearly 100 years ago. "The listening ones do not speak, they do not show rage. They only wait, beneath old worlds, listening, watching, remembering." Kale realized, then Earth wasn't just here by chance. They had encountered this before. This wasn't a rescue mission. It was containment, and if that was true, then whatever was under El Rusavan was far older and far more dangerous than anyone had believed. Raylan activated a sealed file from his onboard archive. It needed a command phrase. He whispered it, almost like a prayer. Echo Protocol, Shadow Route. The file opened. It showed 5 other colonies. All lost the same way. No distress calls. No bodies, just silence. Each one built near natural caverns. Each one erased from public records. Raylan's voice was low. "This is the 6th. One of the Marines noticed something on the wall. A small stone-like pod, smooth, shaped like a teardrop. It pulsed faintly, almost like it was breathing. He stepped closer, and it stopped pulsing. The team stood still. Then deep in the chamber, a soft hum began. Not sound exactly, but vibration. Like a song without music, a warning without words. They backed away. Carefully, Raylan gave the signal. Mark the chamber. Pulled the team out. No fast moves. No loud noise, because now they understood. L Lara-7 hadn't been attacked. It had been touched by something that didn't need to attack. It simply reached out from the deep, and people vanished. The colonists hadn't been taken by force. They had been drawn in, called by something that knew how to whisper through dreams, through silence, through the bones of the planet itself. Back on the Terran ship, the echo tap picked up a new signal. Soft, slow, rhythmic. Knock, knock, knock. Kale watched as the Terrans began sealing the colony. No one had called for help, but Earth had come because they had heard the knocking before. The whisper was no longer silent. Inside the deep tunnels of Elaru-7, the Terrans stood still. The rhythmic vibration that pulsed through the ground wasn't loud, but it touched everything: their boots, their bones, even the lights in their helmets. It felt like the heartbeat of the planet itself. Slow, ancient, and watching. "Commander." Raylan didn't speak. His eyes stayed fixed on the tunnel ahead, where the vibration was strongest. He raised one hand, signaling his team to move. Not fast, not loud. Just steady, controlled. The deeper they walked, the stranger things became. The walls lost their natural shape. Instead of stone, the passageways now looked sculpted: soft curves and sweeping arches. Like something intelligent had shaped them long ago, but not in any design humans would understand. No marks, no symbols, just purpose. Unknown and unsettling. Back in orbit, Kale tracked every movement from his remote station. The feed from the Terran scouts was clear, but their audio was strangely distorted. Some kind of The signal itself was bending around something. Not broken, just twisted. He tried to adjust the filters, but nothing helped. The deeper the Terrans moved underground, the more the signal changed. Then something caught his eye. The strange, old scanning device had started generating patterns. Not simple maps or alerts. It was drawing shapes. Not randomly, but with intent. Spirals, webs, concentric rings like ripples across a still pond. Kale had seen similar symbols before, but only in ancient banned texts locked in the councils. Vaults, worlds marked, sealed, restricted, or worse, lost. The humans weren't just walking into danger, they were walking into memory. Raylan's team reached a new chamber. This one was tall and empty, except for a smooth pillar in the center. No lights, no sounds, only a faint humming from the floor. Then, someone noticed it. A trail of small, gray footprints, child-sized bare. They let in, but never came out. Raylan studied the prints quietly, then walked to the pillar. There were no buttons or screens, but when he placed his palm on the surface, the pillar responded. A soft light emerged from within, green, fluid, alive. It didn't project images. It showed memories, not spoken, not written, but felt. Flashes of families smiling, people laughing, on Elarusavan moments before they disappeared. Then, silence, followed by pressure. Wait, something pressing down from beneath the colony, like thought without voice, like hunger without a face. One Marine dropped to a knee. "Sir, I felt that." "It wasn't just light." Raylan nodded. "It's showing us what happened." Kale watched all this in growing fear. The Terrans had come prepared. Yes, but this wasn't just a rescue, it was a ritual, a return. Why? Why would they come without invitation, without orders, lest they knew exactly what this was? Kale searched again, this time digging through classified records varied by Earth's old Alliance network. He found fragments, reports of ancient structures buried beneath early colonies, even Earth's moon, and one line repeated across centuries. They don't wake by sound, they wake by memory. Kale stopped breathing for a moment. That meant this wasn't just a random threat. It was something woven into the roots of certain planets. things the humans had studied, maybe even survived before, and now it was waking again. Back on the surface of Elarusavan, backup teams were preparing containment units. Large black domes, designed not to trap but to shield. Not from explosions, but from thoughts, from ideas. One soldier whispered, "Why do we even build colonies near places like this?" Another answered, "We didn't know, but Raylan did, and so did Earth." They had maps, not of star systems, not of space, maps of memory. The echo tap pulsed again once, then twice. It began sending signals of its own, not warnings, not alerts, but a message in Terran code. Pattern repeat, confirmed, sequence active. Raylan turned to his team. "This place is not the first. It may not be the last." Emerine asked, "What are we really dealing with, sir?" Raylan replied quietly, "Something older than fear." Kale couldn't take it anymore. He sent a priority message to the council. Not a warning, but a request. "Do not send ships. Do not disturb this site. The Terrans are containing something we were never meant to find." But it was too late. Council ships had already entered the system. Curious, overconfident Raylan received the alert and closed his eyes. "They won't listen," he said. A Marine asked, "Should we warn them?" Raylan answered, "We already did, by coming here first, because Earth didn't wait for permission. They didn't act from fear or pride. They acted because they remembered. And on forgotten worlds like Elarusavan, memory was the only weapon that mattered." Asterisk, the sky above Elarusavan shimmered with the arrival of new ships. Sleek, silver vessels from the Galactic Council drifted into orbit, proud and polished. Their arrival was late, but confident leaders of peace, order, and rule. They came to assess, to observe, and to remind Earth that no planet moved without Council permission. But Earth had not asked. Kyle stood at his console, watching the new arrivals flood the system. He knew most of the delegates on those ships ambassadors, scientists, policymakers. None of them had ever stepped foot into the kind of places Terrans walked now. None of them believed in things that had no names below the surface. In the quiet veins of Elaris-7, Raylan and his team were sealing the tunnels, not with fire, not with weapons, but with strange, pulsing machines that radiated thought-blocking fields tools Earth had developed over generations. They knew the threat wasn't something to fight. It was something to forget, or else be remembered by it. One Marine placed the final emitter near the spiral chamber. "It's done," she said. Raylan gave a nod but didn't move. His gaze stayed fixed on the far wall, where the grown mural those many eyes and shifting stars had begun to fade, not vanish. Fade, like a dream slipping from the mind just before waking. Kale zoomed in on the surface scan. Council ships had landed, already. 3 teams were deploying drones. No one contacted Earth's ground teams. No questions, no permission, just pride. One of the council teams walked near the colony center. They laughed softly at the abandoned buildings, noting how primitive they looked. One pointed at a children's toy left on a bench and said, "So dramatic? Earth acts like ghosts stole them." Kale sighed. They didn't understand. Not yet. On the ground, Raylan activated his communicator. "Uninvited company has landed," he said. His second-in-command frowned. "Should we warn them?" "They're not ready for the truth," Raylan answered. "And if they were, they'd already be underground." The council team sent drones below. Within minutes, the signals failed. Not because of damage, not because of attack, just lost. Their signals went in and didn't return, like whispers swallowed by deep water. Kale checked the feed. Something below had changed. The echo tap aboard Raylan's ship began vibrating, at a new frequency. Not warning, not fear. Something stranger. It was reacting to the council presence. One Terran officer said quietly, "It remembers arrogance." Kale's skin chilled. He knew now it ever lived beneath Elarusavan wasn't hunting bodies. It was listening for patterns. Emotion, repetition, pride. Just like last time, centuries ago a similar colony vanished. Earth had never explained why. They simply marked the place red on their star maps and moved on. The council had demanded answers. Earth said nothing. Until now, in the deep chamber, the faint warmth returned. Not from the walls. From within. Miro pulsed. Not visibly but in the minds of those nearby. Thoughts not their own began creeping in, questions with no words. Shapes with no form. One Marine's breathing changed. Raylan stepped forward, calm but alert. "Recite," he said. The Marine nodded. "I am myself. I am present. I do not accept what is not mine. I do not open what is closed." The feelings passed. The shape slipped away. Raylan turned to his team. "Seal this chamber." Outside, the council's science team sent another drone into a new tunnel. It disappeared. They tried again. Same result. Then they received a message from Earth's ship. Short, clear, withdraw. "This place does not forget." The council leader ignored it. Inside Kale's station, alerts appeared. Pulse readings from the echo tap spiked. It was like watching a storm build under glass. Silent, invisible, but undeniable. The Terrans didn't react with panic. They simply began finishing the ritual, sealed the tunnels, silenced the memory, contained the pattern. Kale, feeling helpless, sent a final message to the council ship. They didn't come to protect Ella Rusavan, they came to protect you from it, but the council had already ordered excavation. Down in the colony, Raylan's team completed the last seal. The vibration stopped. The humming ended. The mural faded fully, but then, the air shifted. Just slightly. Raylan looked up, not at the ceiling but at the unseen. They're listening again, he said softly. One Marine asked, what now? He replied, we leave. Carefully, quietly let the silence close. As they climbed out of the tunnels, the world above felt changed, not darker, just watched. The council, despite warnings, still sent their machines down, and though Earth would not return, they knew what would come. Because the Terrans weren't explorers here, they were memory keepers, and sometimes the greatest danger is not what sleeps in the dark, but what wakes when arrogance forgets to be quiet. No alarm sounded when it happened. No bright explosion lit up the sky. No sound marked the change, but the people watching from orbit felt it like time paused for a breath. The colony on Elaru 7, once filled with quiet homes, and vanished. Memories stood still. Even the wind seemed unsure if it should blow. Kale stared at his screen, frozen. A wave of data flowed through his consultant signals, reversed pulses, echo trails, but they weren't from the Terrans. They came from deep within the ground. Not mechanical, not natural, something else. The Council's science teams, still on the surface, were unaware. They continued their scanning, digging, testing. Their drones moved into the sealed tunnels Earth had marked as dangerous. Earth had left silent warnings, invisible barriers meant to stop curiosity before it reached too far. But curiosity does not listen. One of the Council's lead scientists stepped into a narrow opening where a drone had vanished. He saw nothing unusual, dust rock, just silence. Until it wasn't silence anymore, it began with a feeling. Not fear, not threat, recognition. It was as if the ground remembered him, not him, as a person, but his behavior, his thoughts, his doubt. Kale saw the feed flicker. The drone signal turned into static. The readings blurred. Then FLATLINED. No screams, no motion, just empty. He opened a channel to Raylan. It's begun again, hasn't it? Raylan, already aboard the Terran flagship, answered with calm resolve. It never stopped. They just stepped too close. In the background, Earth's echo tap devices hummed in low harmony. A slow, layered rhythm filled the air, not music, not speech, but something between both. A message ancient and unfinished. The Terrans began final protocols. Not retaliation, not defense. Closure. Below the colony, their containment emitters shut down in sequence. One by one, they folded inward. The purpose was not to trap, but to erase, to let the tunnels fall back into silence. Not all council members understood. Their ships circled above, demanding answers. Why is Earth withdrawing? One asked. Why haven't you neutralized the threat? Asked another. Kale, now fully certain of the truth, sent one final reply. Because this is not a threat that can be destroyed. It is not alive in the way you think. It lives in silence, in memory, in repetition. Earth came to prevent a loot. You've started it again. They didn't listen. The Terran fleet didn't stay for debate. Their ships moved with calm precision, like a tide pulling away before a storm. No anger, no fear, just understanding. Raylan watched Elaru 7 grow smaller through the viewport. Will they learn? His second-in-command asked. Raylan didn't. Look away, only if they remember. But what if they forget again? He paused. Then Earth will return. Before they call. Kale sat alone in the monitoring room, eyes still locked on the signal logs. The ground of LRS found was quiet again. The tunnels had settled. The hum had faded. But he knew it was never about the colony. Never about people disappearing. It was about patterns, beliefs, overconfidence. Earth's history was not written in victories or conquest. It was written in scars, in warnings ignored, and lessons learned the hard way. And that's why they came before the signal. That's why they moved before permission. Because they had once waited too long. Because they had once believed what the Council now believed, that the galaxy was safe. That silence meant peace. But Earth had heard the silence sing once before, and when it does, it never sings alone. As the Terran fleet faded into the dark, Kale whispered words no one else in the Council would understand. They never called for help, but Earth came anyway, because they knew what silence hides. The last data stream from Elaruzavan slowed, then vanished. No sound, no cry. Just stillness. But for those who remembered, like Kale, like Raylan, like Earth, it was enough. Because some answers do not come with noise, they come with quiet, and the ones who listen are already on their way.